Hello there, I'm Lady Loy. You can find me on Lovers Rock Radio on a Friday 7 till 9 and on Gold Standard Radio on a Saturday 7 till 9. Neither of these radio stations have anything to do with what I talk to you about. It's totally my opinion, my thoughts, and not the views of the respective radio stations. Now, there's been a lot of stuff going on about reparations recently, and I don't know, it does seem sudden, but I guess it's just a change of focus or context why it seems to be coming up more and more. But I'm going to read like I normally do because I don't have much time. I've got 10 minutes to cram in all my thoughts and feelings and opinions, and yes, I'm going to go straight to it now. I was wondering why seems to be a sudden resurgence about reparations, and I think it's because the generation leading these conversations is different. Many of the people now pushing for reparations grew up after the formal empire, but live daily with its consequences. They are less invested in Britain's emotional comfort and less deferential to its tone. They speak the language of policy, law and economics fluently. They don't need Britain's approval to validate their claim, and that shifts the power dynamic. But first let me say, reparations are not about punishing the dead or blaming the living unfairly. They're about addressing ongoing harm and inequality that has roots in slavery, using the institutions that inherited benefits or power from that system to create restorative change today. You know, today I was shown a video and it left me sitting quietly for quite a long time thinking about a question that never really leaves us. The question of reparations for slavery. And when I say slavery, I mean centuries-long system where millions of black men, women and children were stripped of everything: family, freedom, dignity, and forced to build wealth that they would never see. And now, as we approach the end of 2025, we are still asking, can anything be done? Can justice ever be paid for wrongs committed hundreds of years ago, when the people who did the wrong are long gone? The first instinct many people have is a practical one. The culprits are dead, the ships are gone, the laws have changed, so why now? Why here? And perhaps the quietest, most uncomfortable question of all is, why should anyone living today be held responsible for something they didn't personally do? And that question deserves respect, not dismissal, not shame, because if we rush past it, we miss the very long thing that reparations are actually about. Reparations were never meant to be a hunt for ghosts. They were never about knocking on the door of someone born in 1985 and accusing them of crimes committed in 1785. That framing is emotionally explosive and frankly it's misleading. Reparations are not about personal guilt. They are about institutional responsibility, about systems that outlive the people who built them, about advantages that compound quietly over centuries while disadvantages do the same. Slavery did not just take labour, it created wealth, ports flourished, banks expanded, insurance markets grew, universities were endowed, infrastructure was built. And when slavery was abolished, that wealth did not evaporate, it stayed, it was reinvested, it was inherited. Meanwhile, those who had been enslaved were released not into opportunity but into exclusion. No land, no compensation, no safety net. And that imbalance didn't freeze in time. It moved forward. It shaped housing, education, employment, health outcomes, wealth gaps that still exist today. So when we talk about holding institutions or governments accountable, we are not saying they committed the original sin. We are saying they inherited the benefits and maintained the outcomes. And that's not a radical idea. We already accept it in other areas of life. If a company buys land polluted decades earlier, it is still required to clean it up. If government inherits lawful land seizures, it negotiates restitution. If a university discovers its endowment was built on exploitation, it reviews its obligations. Responsibility travels not through guilt but through continuity. So let's bring this home. What would reparations actually look like in the UK right now in 2025? Not as a slogan, but as something you could touch, debate, implement and scrutinise. So imagine a government finally saying, we are not here to rewrite history, but we are here to respond to its consequences. In practice, that would mean the UK Treasury taking the lead, not through endless payouts to individuals alone, but through a reparations framework embedded into national policy. Funding could come from general taxation, yes, but also from targeted levies, redirected cultural funds, and negotiated contributions from institutions with documents tied to slavery and colonial exploitation. Local authorities would matter too. Cities like Liverpool, Bristol, London, places whose prosperity is inseparable from the transatlantic slave economy, could run locally administered reparative investment schemes. Not handouts, not long-term funding for housing, education, health access, and black-owned business in communities still shaped by historic exclusion. And then there are corporations. Did I say that right? Not handouts, but long-term funding for housing, education, health access, and black-owned businesses in the communities still shaped by historic exclusion. And then there are corporations, banks, insurance firms, trading companies. Some of them already know their histories. Some have published apologies quietly on their websites, but apology without repair is just reputation management. In a serious reparations framework, those institutions would be asked to contribute financially, not as a punishment, but as participation in repair. Some might do so voluntarily, others might face legal pressure. Either way, the goal would be the same: redirect a portion of inherited advantage towards repairing inherited harm. Eligibility, of course, is where the temperature rises. Who qualifies? Who decides? And this is where the conversation often collapses under its own weight. But it doesn't have to. Eligibility doesn't need to be perfect to be principled. Genealogical research, community verification, historical records, all of these already exist and are used in citizenship claims, inheritance law, and immigration cases. And beyond individuals, there is a powerful argument for community-based reparations, investing in schools, healthcare, housing, and enterprise in communities disproportionately shaped by slavery's aftermath, avoids the impossible task of drawing a single moral line through centuries of history. Would there be obstacles? Of course. Legal barriers, especially around statutes of limitation, political resistance from those who feel accused by proxy, public fear and that reparations mean endless liability, and practical challenges in administration. All of this is real. But there are opportunities too, a chance to reduce inequality, not through charity, but through justice, a chance to educate honestly, a chance for the UK to move from quiet acknowledgement to meaningful leadership, and perhaps most importantly, a chance to stop pretending that history is over simply because it makes us uncomfortable. To understand how this could work on a smaller scale, imagine a modern example: a major London bank founded in the early 19th century. Its archives show it financed plantations, insured slave ships, loaned against enslaved people's assets. That bank still exists today. It didn't commit those acts, but it grew from them. Accountability today would look like a courtroom drama and judges condemning the past. It would look like historians and economists tracing how early capital accumulation shaped the bank's expansion. It would look at the civil society pressures pushing the bank to acknowledge not just involvement but benefit. It would look like negotiated settlements, funding scholarships, business grants, housing initiatives, health programs designed in partnership with affected communities. It would look like public transparency, education, memorialisation, not erasure, not shame, but responsibility. And notice what's missing here. Nobody's being personally blamed. No one is being asked to apologise for their birth. What's being asked is the institution which continue to profit from historical advantage also participate in historical repair. So, and perhaps the most quiet invitation at the heart of this debate, not to feel guilty for the past, but to feel responsible for the future. I had to jump a bit and left quite a chunk out because I didn't have time and I didn't want to stop it in the middle of a sentence. But I'm hoping that this can kind of shed a light on ways that reparations could possibly take place. And who knows? it might make a difference. You take care now. Have a wonderful entrance into the new year. I'm Lady Loy. Check me out on Lovers Rock Radio.